Near the end of World War II, as Nazi Germany collapsed under the weight of Allied advances, something unexpected happened. Amid ruined cities, broken armies, and shattered ideologies, a moment occurred that did not involve gunfire, tanks, or victory parades. Instead, it involved words, spoken quietly, privately, and never meant for history books. The war in Europe was almost over. German forces were retreating on all fronts, and Allied armies were pushing deep into territory that once seemed impossible to reach. Among the most feared Allied commanders was George S. Patton, a man known for speed, aggression, and relentless pressure. To German soldiers, Patton's name had become synonymous with sudden attacks and unstoppable advances. As surrender became inevitable, senior German officers began falling into Allied hands. These were not fanatics shouting slogans. They were professional soldiers, many of whom had spent their entire lives in uniform. For them, defeat was not just military, it was personal. During one such surrender, a German general was brought face to face with Patton. The meeting was formal, restrained, and heavy with unspoken tension. There were no cameras, no reporters, just two men who had commanded armies now standing on opposite sides of history. What happened next surprised everyone present. Instead of hostility, excuses, or bitterness, the German general spoke words no one expected. He thanked Patton. The room reportedly fell silent. This was not gratitude for mercy or comfort. It was something deeper. According to later accounts from officers present, the German general acknowledged Patton's style of warfare. He admitted that Patton fought the kind of war Germany had once believed in, decisive, fast, and without hesitation. In contrast, he confessed that Germany's leadership had become trapped in ideology, hesitation, and unrealistic orders that ignored reality on the battlefield. For Patton, this was no compliment, it was confirmation. Patton had long believed that wars are not lost by soldiers, but by leaders who refuse to accept reality. He understood that the German army had once been formidable, disciplined, and dangerous. What destroyed it was not a lack of courage, but decisions made far from the front lines by men who no longer understood war. The German general reportedly went further. He admitted that Germany had continued fighting long after defeat was inevitable, sacrificing entire armies for political pride rather than military necessity. In that moment, the conversation was no longer about winners and losers. It was about responsibility. Why was this moment never officially recorded? Because it did not fit the narrative of victory. Wars end with surrender documents, speeches, and parades. There is no place in official reports for mutual recognition between enemies. Recording such a conversation would have complicated the simple story of good versus evil that the world needed after so much destruction. Patton himself was not interested in publicity. He believed history would judge men by results, not words. To him, the German general's statement was not redemption. It was a warning about how power, when disconnected from reality, destroys nations. For the German officer, the war was over. His army was gone. His cause had collapsed. All that remained was honesty. Thanking Patton was not an act of surrender. It was an admission that war rewards clarity, not illusion. This encounter reveals something rarely discussed about World War II. Behind the massive battles and famous speeches were individuals who understood the truth long before their governments admitted it. Soldiers on both sides often knew when a war was lost, but systems built on fear and ideology forced them to continue anyway. Patton walked away from that meeting unchanged. He returned to command, to strategy, and to preparing for what came next. But the moment stayed with those who witnessed it, not because it changed the outcome of the war, but because it exposed a truth few wanted to face. Victory does not erase mistakes. Defeat does not erase skill. And history is not always shaped by speeches given in public, but by conversations held in silence. The German general who thanked Patton understood this. He knew that the real tragedy of the war was not losing. It was continuing to fight after reason was gone. And that quiet acknowledgement, spoken when everything else had already fallen apart, remains one of the most human moments of the entire conflict.